This is the crypto forecast for May 1st through May 15th, looking at how astrology can influence the crypto market. And to let you guys know, I do have YouTube channel memberships. This is a fantastic way to support my channel and the information that I share here. I only have one level at the moment. It's just an intro level. I will be adding more levels or tiers as I go. It's a work in progress, and most likely I will have one for the crypto market where I will have early release of those videos, especially for the crypto market forecasts, and more detailed videos for this. So if you'd like to support my channel, please see below on how to join. The blue charts that you'll see on the screen are for the general transits. The yellow charts are for the Bitcoin transits. For the general transits, I use whole sign astrology. For Bitcoin's chart, I use a sunrise chart. And the birthday for Bitcoin is January 3rd, 2009. 1715 is the time. London, England is the location. This is the chart for Bitcoin trading. I'm showing this to show what the new moon looked like when the cycle began. So the new moon was on the 17th at about 7:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this is the 8 a.m. candle. So we could see that there was a really nice increase during this new moon. The new moon usually gives an indication of how the rest of the cycle will play out. On that same day at 12 p.m., the candles began to go downwards. Yeah, they began to go downwards. So there's an increase in the apex of the moon, and right afterwards there was this downturn. This is a 4-hour chart. And as we can see, for the rest of the cycle, it's been some similar movement where it's been strong upwards, followed by a downturn in the market. This is today's chart. I'm recording this on the 27th, around 4 p.m. And we could see that the market is starting to be very challenged, and that could be due to Bitcoin's transit in Bitcoin's chart of Uranus squaring to natal Venus. This happens in 2 days, but the energy is picking up for that transit. But I just wanted to show this chart just to get an overview of how the astrology is interacting with the trading. So looking at the current full moon, it's on May 1st, Scorpio. There are 2 full moons in May. That I feel is going to cause a lot of strong movement, volatility in the market. It's an emotional time. This full moon is in Scorpio, going deep into the emotions, digging deep into situations in general that will likely influence the crypto market and other financial markets. The ruler of this moon is Pluto and Mars. Pluto and Mars, they have a lot of weight within trading. So Mars is, in the general charts, Mars is squaring to natal Jupiter. So Mars is in Aries, it's at 16 degrees, and it's squaring to Jupiter in Cancer at 19 degrees. This transit will be exact on May the 5th. Pluto is squaring to the moon. So Pluto is in Aquarius, squaring to the moon and to the sun. It's not exact. They're separated by a few degrees, but it's still squaring to the moon and the sun. Positive transits happening is Pluto is in a sextile to Neptune and Saturn in Aries and trining to Uranus in Gemini. Gemini is at 0 degrees, still very influential. In Bitcoin's chart, Mars is sextile to Chiron, moving through any issues, resolving issues, and Pluto is sextile to the moon and next to natal Mercury. Pluto, I feel, could be one of the reasons that there have been a lot of issues with trading. When 2 planets are conjunct, they merge the energy. So it's power and trading. It could be showing too much power in certain trades, manipulating the market, but something to overcome a fight of power within the markets. May 3rd, Jupiter will trine Bitcoin's Uranus. So Jupiter is in Cancer and will trine Bitcoin's Uranus on the 3rd. This transit, I feel, will be directly influencing this full moon in Scorpio. So what I wrote down is during the apex of this full moon, it could be volatile with the influence of Uranus squaring Bitcoin's Venus that happened on April the 29th. That is still in effect. And Pluto squaring the moon, along with Mars squaring to Jupiter. Pressure is building up as it gets to May the 4th. Jupiter transits occur earlier than the exact day of the transits usually. So with Mars squaring to Jupiter, we could be feeling some of that influence on the full moon. But we could also be feeling this Jupiter trine natal Uranus that happens on the 3rd. So I do feel that during this full moon, the apex of the moon, it could be challenged or very volatile. But towards the end of the day after this apex of this full moon, it could be positive, and that could also be because Venus will be in a sextile to Saturn in the general transits. Mercury will also be conjunct to Chiron. That could pose some challenges, but with Venus sextile to Saturn, that could override the Mercury next to Chiron. I feel it'll be more positive towards the end of the day with this Jupiter trine Bitcoin's Uranus on May the 3rd. And that could override any challenges with Chiron. If that doesn't happen, then it could just be volatile throughout the whole day. But I do see Jupiter trine Bitcoin's Uranus to begin to overtake any challenges, any challenging transits occurring. May 2nd and the 3rd, I see this as very positive because of Jupiter trining to Bitcoin's Uranus. Mercury will also enter Taurus, which just has a very good time in Taurus, boosting the trading, having more grounded trading. And as I said before, Jupiter transits usually occur earlier than the exact day of the transit. So May the 2nd could be more positive than the 3rd when the actual transit occurs. And I feel that that's going to be the case. Like the 2nd, I feel is going to be the most strongest day of this transit because on May the 6th, Pluto will station retrograde. That is causing confusions and chaos in the markets. So this transit, I feel it's really going to be strongest May the 2nd. May the 1st with the full moon, it could be as well, but I feel like the 2nd will be the better day out of all of these days from May 1st to the 3rd. And May the 2nd, I kind of skipped over that. Mercury was squaring to Bitcoin's Jupiter. That is challenging, but with Jupiter also trining to Bitcoin's Uranus, I feel that's going to override anything challenging happening on the 2nd. There's no general transits on the 2nd. It's only Bitcoin's transit, so these ones will dominate the markets. Now, I know I said that Jupiter trine Uranus is very positive, and the 2nd could most likely be the strongest out of the two. One thing to just keep in the back of your mind is when Mars is at 17 degrees of Aries on the 2nd of May, there could be some unexpected challenges. This is a critical degree for Bitcoin this year. Mars moves quickly, so by the 3rd, it will be gone from 17 degrees, but it's just something to keep in mind that could cause some unexpected challenges in the market. And like I said, Jupiter trine Uranus is positive and most likely will override any challenges in the market, but it's just something to be aware of because 17 degrees is it's a degree to watch when any planets hit it or aspect this degree of Aries 17 degrees. May the 6th, I have fear and volatility. And that's because Pluto will station retrograde on the 6th. This is a challenge. It's bringing things to a halt. When a planet stations retrograde, there's a lot of chaos and confusion. Pluto especially is going to cause, I feel, this confusion. No planets up until this point were retrograde right now. But on the 6th, Pluto goes retrograde and throws this monkey wrench into everything. So the 4th, there could be still energy from Jupiter trine Bitcoin's Uranus on May the 3rd. It could be leftover. It could still be positive, or it could be moving into this volatility with Pluto starting to go retrograde. And I say the 4th could be volatile as well because with Jupiter transits, the energy starts to influence earlier, but it also clears up earlier. With Jupiter being strongest prior to the exact transit, it could also have the energy and influence of that transit also move away quicker. and not last those full 3 days afterwards. So the fourth, I feel that's going to be starting to become volatile, moving from this positiveness from Jupiter trine because Uranus, that between that transit and Pluto getting ready to station retrograde. It's a slow outer planet, Pluto, very slow, the slowest. So this will have a longer impact before it stations retrograde. After it's retrograde, it will still have this confusion underlying tone to it, but I feel that the fourth, we could start to really feel the intensity of this retrograde planet. On the fourth, Mercury will also square natal Mercury in Bitcoin's chart. So this is also confusing the trading. On the fifth, Mars will square Jupiter. This is a challenge, and this is also, I feel, feeding off of this Pluto retrograde, causing confusion, sudden challenges in the market. On the fifth, Mercury will also square Pluto. So there's a lot of, it's squaring Pluto, a planet that is about to go retrograde, really causing confusion in the markets. Maybe trading manipulations occur. It's something that's very challenging happening on the 5th as well, the day before Pluto goes retrograde. Mercury will sextile this north node. That is positive. And that could have a brief period of this positive momentum in the market. But overall, I see the 5th as a challenging day leading into the 6th of Pluto stationing retrograde. In Bitcoin's chart, we have Mercury trining to natal Mars and Mercury sextiling this north node. A lot of Mercury transits are happening. So there will be some brief periods on the 5th of positive, and that will be more likely in the later part of the day, early evening. Overall, though, I feel like this is going to be a very challenged day on May the 5th. May the 6th, as Pluto goes retrograde, that's the only transit happening. I feel that this is going to be very challenging for the crypto market. The 4th is going to be volatile, starting to change the market more towards fear-based. The 5th, I feel it's going to be overall fear with periods of positive momentum. The 6th, I see it as fear, challenged market. And this, I guess, would represent the 6th. This is how I see the 6th. May 7th through the 10th. May 7th, there are not any transits, so that will follow what happens on the 6th. So if it's very challenging, it will continue that trajectory. May the 8th, Mars will sextile to Neptune. Now, this has potential to turn the market around and take it out of this negative trajectory from the 6th and the 7th. If it continues to stay negative, it's due to Pluto being just have stationing retrograde. If there's no positiveness, that's because of Pluto, but there's quite a possibility that we could have a really positive period on the 8th, and that could happen more towards starting in the afternoon, because this transit happens at 7 o'clock, 7:06 p.m. On the 9th, Mercury trine Bitcoin Sun, Sun sextile to Bitcoin's Uranus, and Venus square Bitcoin's Uranus. If the market has begun to recover from Pluto retrograde on the 6th and the 7th, the 8th could be very positive, and the 9th could also continue to be positive if this market has cleared up from Pluto retrograde. And I say if because sometimes retrogrades take over any other challenge in any other transit in the charts. So the 8th could be positive, and so could the 9th, could also be very positive. The very late evening on the 9th and the 10th could begin to become challenging because of Venus squaring Bitcoin's Uranus at very, very late in the evening at 11:19 p.m. So that energy will likely carry into the 10th. So that's the 10th. The 10th could be challenged beginning the evening of the 9th. On the 11th, the Sun is sextile to Jupiter. That's the only transit going on, and that is positive. 12th, I have it as volatile due to Bitcoin's chart, the only transits occurring. We have Venus squaring natal Saturn, Sun trine natal Saturn, Mercury sextile natal Uranus, and Venus trine natal Neptune. Okay, and this could be volatile due to the fact that Venus is squaring Bitcoin's Saturn. Venus is the ruler of the midhaven, Saturn's the ruler of the chart. This could cause some challenges, or at least especially earlier in the day, earlier in the morning, and then by the afternoon, evening, it could clear up and become positive. So if it's not just volatile, it could be challenging in the morning and positive afternoon throughout the rest of the day. 13th, Mercury will sextile Jupiter in the general transits. The Sun will square Neptune. Bitcoin's chart, Mercury trine Saturn, and Mercury square Neptune. This I have also as volatile. Mercury sextile Jupiter, that's very positive early in the morning. But then we have some other transits that are challenging. It's a mix of fear and greed on the 13th. There's multiple transits going on, especially involving Mercury. And that Mercury represents trading. So trading will be back and forth. I feel like this is going to be highly volatile. One thing I do want to say is on the 12th, Venus trine Bitcoin's Neptune could be more positive than I am anticipating, or even the markets are anticipating. It could be just a sudden long green candle occurring in the market. This occurs at 3:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Neptune has the ability to make strong price movements up or down. So let me rephrase that. This could be extremely positive or extremely challenging, this transit, because I've seen a positive transit with Neptune that causes a strong downturn in the market. So this could be either very positive or extremely challenging for the market. Venus trine to Bitcoin's Neptune. It could be either or, and it could dominate the day. I'd like to say it's going to be positive, but like I said, I've seen it as the opposite of what the transit is saying. So this is a day I feel it is to watch for strong price movement, especially around the afternoon. May 14th and 15th. 14th, Sun is next to Mercury in the general transits. I see that as positive. And depending on what happens with Venus trine Bitcoin's Neptune, it could be feeding off of that. So if it's positive, it could continue this really positiveness. If it's challenged, it could continue to be challenged. But I feel like this is going to be positive on the 14th, excuse me. On the 15th, there are no transits happening. So the energy could follow from the 14th. Or it could actually be pretty challenged because during the next new moon, which happens on May the 16th, the North Node will be squaring to the Sun and the Moon. That is challenging, and that usually does signal a challenged cycle for the next cycle. The 15th could be a fearful day, challenge day, due to that reason. And we also have on the 16th Mars conjunct Chiron, so that is also showing a challenge, possibly a challenge start to the next cycle. I hope you guys enjoyed that breakdown. Let me know in the comments what you think. And just to remind you, I do have memberships if you'd like to support my channel. How to join should be below this video of how to join. If you're looking for an astrology reading, my link is also in the description below. Schedule a reading. We can look at what's coming up for this next year for you, or just different transits occurring in your life to try to understand how the best approach is for you to handle it according to your own chart. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, and share.